threes and making plays. Pickett was doing a great job of getting deep, and he's a tough cover. And then he did a good job of finding some guys and scoring. But we were going to have to put like back-to-back stops together to close out the game, or we were going to get beat. And I thought had a couple really good possessions where they took tough threes, and we had one where Pickett took an impossible three and still made it. But at the end, we did a good job of just making it harder on them to shoot it. Once you get them in a position where they're probably going to shoot a three, it helps us a little bit. So it's not the best of both worlds. When he gets so deep with the basketball, we don't want to help off their five, and he'll get a dunk. We don't want to help off a three-point shooter, and he'll get a three. And so we just had to have a balance, and we had to do a better job of not letting him get that deep off the bounce. But yeah, it was great to see our guys, make some plays defensively and rebound the ball. Ethan made those free throws. I thought Mason was great in wanting the basketball late. How the shots that he took late in the game, he really wanted them and stepped into them and shot them with, some rhythm.
Matt, how often do you practice without either Zach or Trayvon on the floor? And how big of a challenge is that when you have to do that in game?
Yeah, we don't practice without him. So, because we've worked so hard to help, like Caleb, to play the four, because that's where he's got a better chance to get minutes in this year. And so, yeah, he doesn't get there much. But he's used to playing, the five, and running stuff. But I thought our guys did a good job. It was a frustrating game for those guys. And I think anytime big guys get in foul trouble, it's frustrating.
Just that stretch in the first half where you're able to force some turnovers, but also do enough offensively without your centerpieces on the floor.
Right.
How important was that in the overall story?
Yeah, Shrews did a good job of switching some things up, going zone, going box and one, and putting us into a bind when we had some different lineups out there. And I thought our guys adjusted pretty well, even though we a couple times didn't know what we were doing. For the most part, I thought our guys did a good job of just, playing the game and, giving ourselves a chance.
Since this week with your players, there was maybe a little bit of soul-searching sense of urgency that had kicked in.
Well, you hope, your test is how you do in the game. You can act all, do what you want in practice. And for us, it's just building a habit more than anything. Just keep working at it and, don't get too down when you struggle, and don't get too high. When you have success, understand that you got to keep building a habit, especially on the defensive end. We have to make improvements in that area. And anytime you can win close games, it helps you. As a coach, you don't want to be in them. But anytime you can win those games, I think it helps with your confidence. We just have to keep getting better in practice every day. You can't just win games and then come to practice and kind of go through the motions. Maybe that's a poor choice of words, but we just got to do a better job of playing on edge every day.
Games like this, sometimes the winning coach will say that the losing team's a well-coached team because they sort of played up to whatever they were playing against.
Mm-hmm.
What are the hallmarks for you of a well-coached team when you get everybody's best shot landed in that?
Yeah, look, a well-coached team is just, something that they take something away from you. And so you can tell that they know their strengths, they stay away from their weaknesses, and they take something away. They try to get you to beat their team in a different way than you've been beating other people, and they just understand that. Now, sometimes you have the issue with a lot of it is, can you change and do different things and people can follow that? Because you get into your pattern of working and getting better and improving on things, and you just want to be better at what you do. Everybody thinks when you struggle a little bit that you should change. I'm from a different school of thought. I think you should be better at what you do. With the film and everything that's at our fingertips now, we see everything. So you're not going to get by them. And at times when you go against other people, sometimes your focus can be too much on the other team and not enough on yours. I think all coaches are guilty of that. I know I'm guilty of that. Because the most important team is your team, and you know what they can do. Sometimes they can take in a volume of plays or a volume of different things, and sometimes they can't. And you got to be able to gauge that, and you only gauge that through competition, when the popcorn's turning. And I think that for Penn State, trying to take away our size, trying to make it hard on our size, trying to bottle up Jaden Ivey, that's not, a crazy thought there. That's a pretty simple thought of how to handle us. But we also got some guys that can shoot, so you can stay with them. I thought the way they mix things up, Like, I would like our guys to execute better. When they changed, we worked and talked about the change, but yet we didn't do a very good job at that time. And that's why you do it. You do it because it's something that's different. But when people expect it and people know it's coming, and it's a little bit different, that's a little bit different. So as a coach, sometimes those subtle changes or whatever can help you in a game, but they might not be pillars going forward, to win 12, 13, 14, 15 games in our conference.
Matt, what are your overall impressions of Jalen Pickett after you faced him for the first time?
Oh, really good. And, he has that old man's game where he's upright with the basketball. He's hesitating. He's herky-jerky. So it's hard to kind of keep that focus with him. He loves the dribble, makes him comfortable. He's more of a dribble shooter than he is a catch and shooter. That doesn't give him quite the rhythm that the dribble does. But he can pass the basketball. He has good size. He can make a pull-up. There's not a lot of guys analytically that makes sense for them to shoot pull-ups and runners, even though everybody shoots them. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know his numbers analytically, but it seems like his ball goes in a lot to me. So you've got to take up his space. And if you don't have the physical ability to take up his space, then he's just going to back you down. He's just going to get to his point. And then whether he shoots layups or step backs, it's just a hit or miss game at that point. He's a good player. That's the one thing. I've coached Division III, Division II, low major, mid major, and high major. And I tell our guys all the time, like, there's good players everywhere. There's good players. I mean, those are the type of guys that you got to find when they're 17. How did that get away? Like, or whatever. Where was that kid when he was 17 or 18? And that's what we really try to work at Purdue, is try to evaluate and find those guys. And who cares who's recruiting them? Who cares who you beat for them? We've had a lot of guys have no high major offers, and they end up being great for us. Maybe not an NBA player, but they end up being a great role player that help us win a lot of games. So I think he's fabulous.
How much did Micah's familiarity with your offensive defense ultimately impact this game after it's all said and done?
That's a good question. I think that's hard to quantify. I said before the game that I think he has an advantage because he knows us. Like, he knows our personnel. Like, I haven't spent a day with his personnel. I can watch film, but I don't know them. Like, you know what I mean? He knows our players. He's coached our players. He's recruited some of them, and so I think that piece definitely gives him a little bit of an advantage in preparing for things. He knows who can make shots, who can't, but who can make shots late in crucial situations versus who can't, who to send left, who to send right, who to get into a pull-up, who to leave that alone, which way to send you in the post. All those little knick-knack things that give you a little bit of an advantage. So, but I don't think it was you still got to play the game, right? You know what I mean? You still got to play the game. And I think, our players are just a little bit better than their players.
Was there anything you saw from this Penn State team today that you thought was specifically a reflection of them being coached by Micah, if that makes any sense?
Just what they run. They run a lot of, I can't give it our names for what it is, but that's how I would describe it. But, just the actions that they do and the spacing that they do. They ran a lot of what he does with the Celtics, just kind of that A to B to C. You deal with your five, and you play off of angles, and you play off of Pickett's ability to make a play, the other guy's ability to shoot, So, but that's more of just kind of the spacing of what they do is what Brad did a lot of with Boston. He doesn't run a lot of stuff that we run, but yet he doesn't have the same personnel that we have. He has a good lead guard. He has some skilled guys with it. We have a couple low post guys, that we throw the ball to a lot. We have a dynamic guard that we try to get the ball to in the open court. So our personnel is a little bit different. But I got a guy on my team I've been coaching 5 years. I got 2 guys on my team I've been coaching 4 years. I got 3 guys on my team I've been coaching 3 years. So, we haven't taken transfers. We haven't done that. We've taken a little bit, not a lot. And so, we have kind of that corporate DNA. So, Sasha Stefanovic can coach our team, And so, we have it's really good. That's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be old and be able to talk to guys and have relationships, and they know just as much as you, and they can help you, with that and a coach and a player. And sometimes when you just start, you don't have that. It kind of doesn't mean you can't be good, but you just don't have that yet because you haven't grown. You haven't spent, 4 or 5 years with somebody.
Why no Brandon Newman today?
I just stayed with the other guys more than anything. When you have 10, and we've kind of talked about it with it, I just stayed with Sasha more minutes and J.I. more minutes.
What was the emphasis on following up Seth Lundy, and how did you feel like you guys did?
Yeah. Well, I thought we did great in the first half, not just like contesting, just not letting him get there. When you have a lead guard that got, he has 10 assists tonight, he's playing, and you got a big post, he's playing off those two guys a little bit. It's kind of a perfect situation for him. He got more of an opportunity in the second half. Sometimes it's what you're doing. Sometimes it's just, the ball doesn't come your way all the time. He makes tough shots, and that's what with those guys that can make those tough ones, that's sometimes that's great, and sometimes that's a struggle. Because, when you take tough ones and you miss them, especially in crucial times, you want those back. But yet when it goes in, you're like, oh, that's great. He made one of his that was just unbelievable. But when you watch them play, he normally has one or two of those a game. I don't know what that percentage is. Pickett normally has one or two a game where they shoot the basketball. You're like, hey, man, that's a terrible shot. And bang, it goes in. But they consistently do it. And he's a good player, man. He came into our place 2 years ago and was probably the difference of the game. He had 6 threes. He was averaging 5 at the time. And he came in and, really changed the course of the game in the first half. But he's a good player, and he's a tough cover for us, like who we put on him. Like, how do we handle that when they have different lineups? That's tough for us.
You would let go for Tuesday night at Michigan?
I haven't heard anything final yet, so it'll be interesting. I don't know all the details of it because I just got it this morning, and I haven't talked to anybody from the Big Ten or anything like that. I was more worried about Penn State. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No problem.